Right, we've crossed the 100 people in there. Sorry, guys, we won't be long from starting. Just getting the people ramped in.
No worries.
Okay. Yes, so just so everyone knows, this is both the panelists and those watching, we have had a bit of a slight issue here where despite raising our cap on our Zoom account, it seems to have not actually done that. And this has been a little bit popular. But what we are doing now is sharing to everyone out there the YouTube link for the seminar. It's exactly the same. You can ask questions through there as well. If you've got any members of the team who aren't in the seminar at the moment, please feel free to share the link that I've just put through the comment section to them as well. And we'll give it just a couple more minutes for people to get on there and then we'll be underway. Sorry about that, but looks like everyone will still be able to watch anyway. Great. Yeah, sorry about that, team. We did put that through to Zoom, but I think they're just a bit overloaded at the moment. But anyway, we will keep going. We're just seeing the numbers rising now on that YouTube link, so that should be good. Right. So I think we should get started. We'll go through and get underway, and hopefully by the time we've gone through the housekeeping, those on the YouTube link should be watching us quite happily. Now we are here, of course, for the first AutoTalk seminar. Now, what are the ideas behind this? Well, we've always felt that there's a need for some continuing professional development for the dealer trade. And with the sudden change in how the market is being expected to operate under the new COVID-19 regime, and also the impact that's had on the broader business world, we figured this was a great time to really kick this off. Now, a lot of this, of course, has gone on in the market before. We've got great companies out there like AutoPlay, who we're working with today, who do go out and educate their customers and the broader market. But we wanted something where larger numbers could enjoy and experience and take value from the information that's going out there. So thank you all for joining us. We're going to continue doing this as a free service with the support of our advertisers and sponsors here at AutoTalk and Auto Media Group. Now, the first one we are working with today is in regards to lead management. I think the title kind of covers it, lead management in the post-COVID-19 world with AutoPlay. So on our panel today, we have Matt Darby, the National Product and Operations Manager for AutoPlay. Hello, Matt.
Hey, Richard. How you doing?
Good, good. We've got Jackie Hingston, the Customer Experience Manager of AutoPlay.
Hi, Richard, and everyone listening in.
Hi, Jackie. And we've got Mike Pratt, the Director of Business Development for Mark Group, which is, of course, the parent company of AutoPlay.
Hi, everyone.
Great. Now, how things are going to work today is once we're underway, it's going to be more of a discussion, I think, than your usual webinar or seminar or presentation where someone's in front of a whiteboard and or a screen projector. There's going to be a proper discussion of the issues that's going on there. So we'll work with myself and the panelists through the discussion, and then when we get to the end, we will come up with we'll have a Q&A session where you're welcome to ask the panelists anything you want from the questions they've had there. Now, the way you ask those questions is through the messaging service you have to the side there on Zoom, or through the live chat discussion you have on YouTube. If neither of those are working for you, or you can't find and you have a really important question you wish to ask, then please email me direct, richard@automediagroup.co.nz, and we'll do our best to get through to all those questions that are there. So I think we should kick off now. I think we've got about 150, 160 people watching us live at the moment, and the number's still ticking over. Now, we'll start with you, Mike. Actually, we'll start with you, Matt. I'm going to modify this first question a little because it's kind of interesting, I think, what we've seen come through overnight with the change to level 3 from level 4. Now, we're seeing dealers recommended a lot of changes to how they do business, needing to keep registers, needing to track how things are going. Now, considering your guys' work has been only with automotive businesses so far, I mean, how is that different to what you're kind of doing already with them? And what are you hearing from your customers out there as to how they're seeing this whole change to level 3, sorry?
Yeah, so I mean, I think AutoPlay's been in the lucky position where our product is quite well set up to contact trace, which is one of the key hot points in its normal format. And one of the reasons we have a pretty solid product is we do listen very strongly to our customers, and that's really ramped up even more than ever before. So over the last couple of weeks, we've been on a lot of one-on-one calls with our customers, both from the OEM level down to individual dealers, to sort of get a bead on how they're seeing the industry and attempting to form our plans based on their read of what's going on, while at the same time providing a bit of thought leadership on things that maybe they hadn't considered because they've got such a wide range of issues to consider, whereas for AutoPlay, our focus is definitely on that pre-sale lead management. And as I said, our tool does a number of things well. One thing we have noticed is there's been more demand than ever for a different type of reporting. Normally our reporting is very much focused on optimizing the efficiency within your dealership. We're getting a lot more requests for dealers to figure out what's happening in the wider market, to how they're comparing versus other dealers in their group, other dealers in their region, and other dealers versus the market. So we've put a lot of effort into building out some reporting to help us answer those questions, and that'll be going to market at some point over the next week or so, or coming weeks. But in terms of the product, as I said, contact tracing is a big focus. Being able to prove who has come into your dealership at any one time, when and what vehicles they may have interacted with. So we've got a number of dev projects, some coming out this week and some on a slower timescale than that we're hoping will respond to those needs.
Fantastic. So that's going to be really important as people try and get back to business. Just to kind of go back to our natural start, Mike, could I call you in for a second? Could you just give us a bit of an overplay of what AutoPlay and the Mark Group does, and how are things going at the moment during this time?
Yeah, sure. And we can jump around as you want, Richard. Just shoot questions at us as they come up, mate. So look, in terms of an overview, well, firstly, thanks for the opportunity on behalf of Mark Group, AutoPlay, our other sister company in New Zealand, Smart Loyalty as well, to take place in this chat. Be the first cab off the ranks. So look, I'm broadcasting live from the land of cows, sheep and honey down here in the Waikato. So our internet in the Waikato can be pretty dodgy. So if we cut out at any point, if I cut out, just let us know. But yeah, in terms of the Mark Group, an overview of us, we got 5 businesses we own and operate internationally, and 2 of those 5 fantastic businesses are headquartered out of little old New Zealand, being AutoPlay up in Auckland and Smart Loyalty down here in the Waikato. We've also got offices in Tauranga. So AutoPlay, specialist lead management software provider to around 85% the franchise dealerships in this country. Matt and Jackie are going to take us through some pretty interesting stuff today. I think they've got some really interesting insights. And Smart Loyalty, Waikato-based business-to-business specialty loyalty provider, running major trade, sales channel, incentive programs to about 1,200 companies throughout Australasia. So yeah, both organisations, big presence in the passenger market in particular. Smart Loyalty crossover to heavy commercial as well as construction and agricultural, but big part of our organisations are in the automotive vertical. So yeah, in terms of an overview, mate, that's probably a few words.
Fantastic, and thanks for putting the effort in to provide this to the market today. I mean, it probably goes without saying, but I'll note it anyway for those listening. Yeah, AutoPlay and the Mark Group are putting effort into this, but they're doing it on the basis that the majority of this information is largely product agnostic. It's good dealership basics. Of course, they have some fantastic products that can tie into this side of the business, but regardless of what you're doing, this is the kind of information that I think will really help you work through and change and recover during this COVID-19 period. So back to you, Matt. How are things going? I mean, not just with you guys, we kind of touched on that, but in regards to the people, the dealers that you're speaking to out there.
Challenging. I mean, that's not going to be surprising to most people. A lot of dealers are really feeling it, and for us, it was a bit of a no-brainer to come to the party with some payment holidays for our dealers to help support them through this time. But we've found that really just keeping up a dialogue with the dealers is the most important thing, and the kind of feedback we're getting is there's a bit of uncertainty with what's going on. There's an element of trying to predict what the government is going to say, which is challenging for a development company like ourselves trying to respond to. But there's also rays of positivity as well. So, the dealers still have a lot of leads that have come into the dealership before the COVID-19 shutdown. And those leads are still there that can be followed up when the market hits some form of normality. So, for the really sharp operators out there, it's really going to give them an opportunity to hit the ground running and come out of this stronger than could be expected in some dealers' cases. So I think that's really been a focus, is making sure that what we do as a product can respond to what the dealers think is necessary coming out of the market.
And Jackie, have you got any ideas there in regards to dealer sentiment? You've been looking into that?
Absolutely. So very early on, our industry is all about sales, and we're not making sales at the moment. So that's very challenging. A lot of people are hit hard. So obviously, it's causing uncertainty, as Matt brought out, it's causing stress. And so we made it a priority very early on in the piece, to make sure that we stayed close to our customers, to find out how they were managing their systems and processes through this time, and how they were handling their relationships with their customers, also ensuring that wherever they needed support, we were there to give them support, and making sure that their current leads in the systems were being managed using the appropriate digital tools. Also, we're very aware, car sales or vehicle sales, we're very tuned to being face-to-face, and we're very kinesthetic sort of people. So now with lockdown and not being able to make that physical contact, it's again very challenging. And because things are changing so much, it's again, change causes anxiety, and there's so much uncertainty there. So it's giving people reassurance that we're there to support them. We're doing, as Matt mentioned, a lot of development. We're trying to think ahead as to, as the government comes out with different guidelines and regulations, how this is going to work within dealerships at a practical level, so we can provide this within the tools, but also, so that's the systems side, but also from the process side, from the customer experience team, that we're working with our customers to ensure that they have that understanding and support to roll this out to their dealerships. Also very different, because I talked about that face-to-face, and one of the things I noticed is historically, wherever our customers have the option of having face-to-face, that's what they would choose, rather than an online conversation or a video conference. And this applied to even when we try to have training sessions with them. Whereas now, because of the current environment, that whole culture is really going to change for us. And so we're forcibly being changed to go digital. And so we're in a really good position to support our customers and others to do that.
Fantastic. Now, Mike, what are dealers going to have to consider as they start getting operating again and trying to get back to learn how to operate, I guess what they're calling the new normal? I mean, what's your take on that?
Yeah, look, that's a pretty huge topic, and I certainly don't think we'll have all the answers, but I think what we're having to really look at is working with the announcements when they come out, and being able to respond really fast and be really nimble in how quickly we respond. So Jackie and Matt talked about how we've worked with our dealerships, our brand partners, to try and anticipate where we think we might need to go. And being a software development company, we've invested in a lot of technology and development that we think we might need. So some of that off the back of announcements may be redundant, but some of it, a lot of it, really sets us up to then do some development really quickly to then release what's required so that dealerships can respond fast. So Matt's got a couple rabbits inside his hat, maybe a bit of a contactless test drive widget we might be releasing soon. I've probably just thrown him under the bus. He can talk about that in a few minutes. Sorry, Matty. But just in sort of rounding out that part of it, thinking about level 3 is important. Don't know how long we're going to be in level 3 for. It could be a couple of weeks longer. It might not be. But then thinking about level 2 and perhaps starting to think about what we're going to have to show to the government as an industry to prove that we're set up in a manner in which we can operate safely in dealing with customers when people come into our dealerships, things like customer contact tracing, visitor logs, vehicle hygiene practices across sales, service, parts will be crucial. Remote appraisals, remote test drives will be commonplace. We're probably even going to have to start thinking about, as an industry, how we move to full digital completion of sales and purchase agreements. So there's a lot of things we can start sort of casting our eye forward into level 2 and getting set up for that, as much as what we're doing now in level 3. Probably over to you, Maddie. Do you want to elaborate in any more detail on any of that there, mate?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Yeah, I think, there's a lot of talk of level 2 lasting for a significant period of time, and we don't know. We don't have any inside information, but I think it's fair to say that even if we don't stay at level 2 for an extended period of time, there will still be a heightened sensitivity among customers and staff in terms of what they're doing with their hygiene practices and their recording of where people are. So we've invested a bit of time in allowing dealers to record vehicle sanitization. So whether they've cleaned and disinfected the car after a test drive or an appraisal. Things like being able to check into a dealership and out of a dealership to track actual movement of a customer. Things like a disclaimer to get a customer to confirm whether they're sick or not, and let them know that, hey, if the government comes calling for information about contact tracing, that the dealership will provide their information and disclosing that to them. Things like scheduling appraisals through our calendar in our pre-sale app. So, a ton of things that we've thought of, which we're trying to respond to conditions that will be in the market in the coming weeks and months. But as Mike mentioned, also some contactless test drive seems to be a big one, which I've been on the phone with my developers for about 2 hours this morning, just running through some options on what we can do. So we've got a pretty healthy, robust roadmap, and we'll share that with our AutoPlay customers as soon as we can put some realistic timeframes on those. But yeah, there's a lot afoot.
Would it be fair to say, and I kind of mentioned at the start, and I just feel it's a point that keeps that needs to be re-elaborated, is what a lot of what we're talking about really is fundamental old school lead management, isn't it? It's making sure that people who come through the door, you know their names, making sure that you've got details before someone jumps in a car for a test drive, and facilitating that ongoing flow thing. This is a really good chance, I think, for the industry to put together solid lead management practices. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I'll jump in on that one. So, to put it into context, we would be getting at AutoPlay across our dealers well upwards of 30,000 leads every month coming into our systems, and we got down as far as sort of under 200. So, some very big impact on the number of leads that are coming in, which is starting to bounce back now. And once we get out of this level 4, I'm sure this will continue to lift again. But it does mean that every lead you do get, you need to really, really nurture. And as you said, Richard, this doesn't just apply to AutoPlay. That's a general lead management principle that, you need to really work the leads that you have. Most dealers, we find, and it's backed up by Deloitte statements as well as our own stats, they'll only convert about 40% of their leads to a test drive and about 20% to sales. So even in a perfect market, there's 80% of your leads that you're not actually selling to first time around. So in a market that's going to be slightly depressed, like we're likely to be facing, that 80% that you haven't sold to, they really become very, very valuable. So nurturing those leads is exceptionally important.
Now, Jackie, have you got any take on what this looks like at a dealership or in a business environment?
Yes, I've been talking to a lot of dealers at the moment, and they're all preparing for the next week and what this is going to look like. So very stringent sanitation procedures in place, where they've got areas cordoned off for any walk-ins. But again, in the foreseeable future, really, we don't expect to have unscheduled walk-ins coming through. They've been interested in the contact tracing features that we'll be releasing later on this week. So that'll allow them to have those tools in place. As Matt mentioned, the vehicle sanitization logs. They're also very keen on ensuring that all their staff are well trained, so that there's no excuse for anyone dropping making any mistakes. So, and then they're very keen. I've had very mixed sort of feelings. Some people have through this time not had any contact or very little contact with customers. Others have actually been making sales, and so they'll be making, looking to make those deliveries as soon as they're able. So it's all coming down to what sort of disciplines have you already got in place? Have you got good procedures in place? And have you been intent on making and maintaining relationships. So we know some are better able at those things than others. It's about good discipline. So if you've got those disciplines and methodologies in place, it's, you know, lots has changed, but then a lot hasn't changed as well. So it's just ensuring that we're adding extra procedures to what we're already doing with hygiene and contact tracing, etc., and then ensuring those are followed through. So there's a lot going on, making sure that they've got everyone well trained to not drop the ball.
What's the difference between those dealerships you indicate there that have made a sale during lockdown, or have made sales during lockdown, or maintain their customer database, versus those that haven't? I mean, what's the missing link there?
No, that's a really, really good question. And I was trying to work that out myself. And that's where it comes to, because, you know, as we've been communicating, I have noticed there are some who felt like, look, we're not allowed to operate at this time. The doors are shut. And really, that's where they've sat. They felt that communicating with customers at this time, you know, is probably not the right thing to do for some very good reasons, because their customers are probably experiencing difficulties themselves financially, and it's probably not the right time, not knowing their circumstances. Completely understand where they're coming from. Whereas others have been keeping up those communications. Again, it comes down to relationships, right? Because if they've been keeping contact with those customers, they've got these relationships, it doesn't have to be a sales-related call. You can be calling these customers to find out how they're doing, what their experiences through lockdown, etc., and just maintaining those. And again, this is where I think we're, you know, as people, we're keeping those connections up, and good salespeople have got a note of different events, and they keep contact. And you know, within AutoPlay, one of the things we've got is an email video response tool, and some of our dealers have been using that to send videos, and within the video they can send a voice note to their customers. So whilst you may not be able to make that face-to-face or physical contact, it's as close, you know, it's the next best thing to being to that next to that customer in cyberspace. So you're still able to make those things that are important to us humans, those connections, using opportunities, creating opportunities, thinking ahead instead of, you know, thinking, look, we can't do anything, so we'll wait till we're given permission to do it. You know, just different people, different strokes for different folks.
I think even just picking up on your point, Jackie, some dealerships, you know, have been using all the technology, all the tools that they've got really well for a long time. So moving into an age where you've got to be a bit more digital, it's not such a massive leap for them. You know, there's a lot of science in pushing people down the road to a sale, pushing customers, you get them into a test drive, then you communicate to them. And, you know, if you do those things really well, you really increase your chance of making a sale. And then being personal, I recently found out that apparently we had a singing sales consultant somewhere in this that would take a video of himself, turn it into a song, and then communicate to the customer using our video tools. So those kinds of quirky ways are incredibly successful, apparently, Jackie.
Absolutely. Look, I was just actually going to mention him, and I won't mention names, but, you know, absolutely right, Mike, because, you know, look, we're in a challenging time, and there will be blood on the floor, so let's acknowledge that. But attitude is everything, right? Like, I met this chap 5 years ago when I trained him as a salesperson, and he was a singing salesperson. He would create YouTube videos, and sometimes people would come just to meet this guy. Okay, he's long since left that particular dealership. He's now a sales manager at a different dealership, different region. I made contact with him last week or the week before. And, you know, again, during this time when we're making these phone calls and keeping contact, we're careful. We want to be discerning and not step on any toes. But when he answered the phone, he was just the vibe. He was just so fully energized. He was happy to talk. You know, he was saying they hadn't stopped their marketing. They were just intent on, look, this thing is going to end. We're going to transition out of there. They're going to be making sales. And one of the things he'd said is And he said to me, look, you know, if you don't sell for a day, you forget how to sell. And he said to me, I know that sounds crazy, but you do. So he has been role playing, obviously remotely, with his team, going through sales strategies, etc. And just the attitude was amazing. And he said he had his principle in life was ACE: attitude, conviction, energy. And, you know, like, if you've got that positivity, that energy, even though we're facing hard times and challenges, it's going to drive you through. And the recipient of that energy, look, they're bound to connect. People buy from people. So it's that sort of thing that's going to help us transition out. So we've got systems, processes, that's great. But really, at the end of the day, it's the attitude of the people we're working with. We've got some amazing salespeople out there with great energy, great attitude, great experience. And it's that sort of energy and experience that's going to get us out of this sort of mini recession, depression.
And going from that, and this kind of leads into our next topic, should we really be scared to follow up leads during this period? And we've still got, you know, essentially a week of it left, this period where people are locked down or they could be facing financial difficulties. Is it still okay to follow up leads you have or work with your existing customer base? And what things can you do to create more leads or get more sales going as you flow on from that?
I think just to touch on what Jackie said, it's somewhat about how you approach that communication. I think you've raised a good point. It can be a touchy time, you know, where there's financial pressure, people's salaries have been garnished, or you know, they may have even lost jobs. So you do need to be have a bit of nous as to how you're approaching that communication. But as Jackie touched on, it doesn't necessarily need to be a fully sales focused comm. Like what you can reach out to them is really doing anything you can to build rapport and keep them on the hook. You're not going to be getting leads over this period, and you haven't been over the past couple of weeks, apart from the odd online website or third-party website lead. So it's really about keeping whatever you do have on the hook until you come out of it and you can trade again. You know, particularly you would have had a lot of dealers with people that had gotten up to test drive stage. You know, only 40% of leads get up to that point. Retargeting those coming out of this market shutdown is potentially a good idea. Again, just using a bit of judgment in terms of how strongly you're coming on and how regularly you're communicating with them. But reaching out to them is definitely a good practice to see if they're still in that market.
And can I please add there, you know, we're talking about nurturing them through post-COVID. But there's a lot we can learn through this whole journey, regardless of what time frame we're living in. And I say that because, you know, I've seen emails come in. So I've seen a customer request come in. Have you got this car in blue? I mean, this is an actual example. And the response going back is, no, we don't. Sorry. You know, there's so many opportunities there. Where we don't have something in blue, but you know, what are you looking for? Call me. I'd love to help you find your dream car or what's the right fit for you. You know, no pressure. Again, it's so much about, like Matt said, using your nous, using discernment, discretion in our dealings with customers. There's so many different people out there. So many different salespeople. That's why I've got different customers with different people, right? Different salespeople. And so just, again, using opportunities. One of the tools that we have is called in-market leads. It's very reminiscent to back in the day, and I'm sure lots of people do it today, where if a new car comes into stock, you know, a salesperson walks around the car, checks its features, accessories out, then they go back in, check through their little black book of customers, and then starts dialing, you know, matching the customers to the cars. Well, in AutoPlay, we've just digitized that process. So, you know, what makes it really easy. What existing leads have you got that match any new cars that have come into stock, or where the price has changed? Now, you know, we've digitized it. It's not actually going to go and make that sale for you. All it's doing is it's giving you a list of connections of the car to the person. The salespeople have to actually get in there, use that opportunity, start conversations, build relationships. You know, it's and that's the same thing here. So there's always opportunities that, like, there's still inquiries, very, very limited inquiries that are coming in, but there are still inquiries that are coming in. So regardless of what time frame, there's still opportunities to be had, and using whatever comes in to the maximum, and optimizing them, I think, is the key. It's more challenging now, but regardless of the volume, the principle, I think, would stay the same.
Even on that, just quickly, Jackie, I mean, without sugarcoating it, the key thing is going to be restarting test drives, because people want to drive something usually before they buy it. But throughout, I think across AutoPlay month to date, we're sitting 3,500, 4,000 leads have come through, you know. So as our industry starting back up again, we think about, okay, test drive, that's the problem we've got to crack. We've got to get those cars into customers' hands so they can drive them. But if we can get close to that Deloitte industry benchmark that I think Matt mentioned before, you might have mentioned test drive. Deloitte's have got a benchmark for lead conversion to sale, which sits around low 20% mark. So 3,500, 4,000 leads, you know, there's 700, 800 odd sales potentially waiting to be closed if we can just act quickly. So just to sort of round out your question there, Richard.
Just to split off from that as well, and it was mentioned, you know, through this, that there are people who have lost incomes, struggled during this period. It's one thing to answer a lead, you know, if someone is making a lead, generally you would expect that they are in a position to sell. Is this a time where you can go searching to regenerate business from your database or from your past leads, or could that be seen as not being very tactful if perhaps you approach someone who's in the wrong position?
I think it's all about timing and tone. So one of the things that really bugged me was the day of the shutdown. I got literally 50 emails from different companies saying, hey, it's a tough time, we're here to support you, but they didn't deliver any additional info or value to me as a recipient. It was just put something out there as quickly as possible. And they all started to feel a bit samey. So I think for a dealer, you know, there's definitely a way that you can mine your appraisals, mine your past leads, have a look at them. In terms of new business, it may not be appropriate to send out a mass email to 10,000 people at this time. But I think if you're working in a more targeted manner to look at your past interactions and even those leads that were active at the time of the shutdown, I think that's the lowest hanging fruit you can target and the most justification you have for contacting these people. And it should start to grow from there.
Mm-hmm. What ideas and what strategies can you guys recommend about developing more leads at the moment, getting those people pre-qualifying themselves by getting in touch with you?
I'll have a crack at it if you're happy, team. You can fill in the logic after I throw some stupid ideas at the board. But hey, thinking about level 3, hoping we get to level 2 pretty quickly, but I think it's one of the oldest tricks in the book, but maybe we stand a few sales consultants at the top of the service lane and we start looking at what service customers are coming into our dealerships. So dealerships sell a lot of new vehicles, a lot of used vehicles, you know, heavy commercial, very similar as well. But quite often there's a lot of information we don't understand about that particular vehicle. So when someone brings it in, why not have someone standing there, a salesperson with the AutoPlay appraisal tool open, appraise their vehicle for them, obviously respecting 2 meters distance, all that kind of stuff with your employees in the dealership, but appraise the vehicle. You can very quickly wash that vehicle that you've just appraised against all of the existing leads that you have open. And lots of dealerships around New Zealand have thousands of you know, that lead history sitting inside their AutoPlay, sitting inside their DMS. So you take the appraisal, you match it to potential leads you might already have. Then you think about that customer, have a look at their finance contract, see where they're at. maybe if you can understand anything about them as a person, as a family, you can start to consider other models of vehicle that they might be looking to transition into if they're in a really strong equity position because of their finance contract with you. You know, it could be 2.5, 3 years through. It might not cost a heck of a lot for that customer to transition into a new vehicle. So I think given that after sales is going to be so important in the next few weeks and building our response, I think sales can look to leverage that to build a strong book of leads that we can look to sort of run on as we go forward.
And I think it should be noted there that service departments are going to be one of the first doors to open, figuratively, well, figuratively in some cases, literally on a dealership.
Mm.
Where does, sorry guys, this isn't on the question list, but it's something that brings to mind, is where does video fit within this? So, you know, I was speaking with a trade the other day who was basically setting himself up to start videoing cars because they can't necessarily get out there and show people around them. And I believe one of the processes a distributor has announced today is that their dealers will be doing virtual show-throughs of cars on video calling before test drives rather than doing a test drive handover in person. I mean, what can dealers do with video to instill some confidence in the buyer and the car that they're getting there, and also perhaps get those leads in through the door?
So AutoPlay actually started with video products about 10 years ago and evolved into lead management. But our sort of starting product was born from the old Auto TV program that used to be on C4 every morning.
I started my career as a face on there.
Seeing those eyes move from TV to online, Craig Brown, the founder of AutoPlay, he had the nous to recognize that, hey, online video was going to play a huge part. So for us, video has always been a huge part of what we do. It's always been something that's designed to help build rapport where you can't talk to someone face to face. Which basically describes the exact scenario we're in now. So yeah, we have built-in tools that focus on allowing someone just to do a voiceover, and it stitches it together with the basic images, or if you've got a tablet or smartphone, you can do a proper true video and send that off as an email. Outside of AutoPlay, you know, if you can get a customer on Skype and you can have a two-way conversation, that's even better. So it's all about just trying to build some rapport with the customer and keep them on the hook, as I said earlier.
Now, I know we've got some OEMs, some distributors in the room watching. Feel free to ask questions if you're there. Mike, what can OEMs do to support their dealer networks through this to help them bring in more leads right now, and what is going to be a really crucial and tight trading time?
Great question. Hey, look, I think everyone's pretty united. Suppliers, brands, their network, everyone here, I don't think has been more united than what we're currently seeing now in trying to do business, you know, in this new normal. The way that I think suppliers, ourselves, brands and their networks work together is just across good lead management practices and behaviors. So, you know, there's so many best practice pillars, but one of the key things I guess I could draw some attention to is working together to respond to leads super fast. Like I've got this saying, it's probably a little bit quirky, but I think new vehicle inquiry is going to become the second most dominant currency in New Zealand next to the New Zealand dollar going forward, because they're going to potentially be a bit harder to come by and going to take a bit more work to convert. So we've got to do a good job. So one of the first things is we want to respond to leads fast. You know, it's not a marathon, it's actually a sprint when it comes to responding to leads. There's some research out of Australia, an organization, I think Direct Connect, if it timing serves me, my memory serves me correct, did a white paper where they surveyed 600 Australasian dealerships, mystery shopped them and catalogued what was happening with respect to all the different brands and dealerships and how they dealt with leads. So what they found as part of this mystery shopping exercise is that 50% of the time the customer will buy from the dealership that responds first. So if I'm on top of a dealership right now, I'm thinking that's something I can probably control, you know, is really rapidly responding to leads in a personal, communicable way to give myself the best shot of closing that deal. And the thing that we've seen in AutoPlay over the last few years is, because of the tool, because we've been fortunate enough to work with some great brands and their networks, is we've seen this play out in the data. Some of our best networks have gone from, conversion rates, lead to sale of around that 20% mark, which is what Deloitte quote, up to, in excess of 30%. Now we're talking hundreds, thousands more vehicles sold annually off the back of good lead response, good lead practices, and lead response time is probably one of the top 3 in that mix. Does that answer the question? Sorry, Richard, I kind of waffled a bit there.
No, it absolutely does. I'm going to go in another direction here too. Again, kind of outside of our structure. Is this a good time for dealers to be going back through perhaps their warranty contact lead list, their finance lead list, and really looking through who might be coming up time to approach again to develop a lead for a sale?
Oh,
definitely. So Jackie?
yeah, I think we were probably going to go down the same track here, Matt. Yeah, I think, like Matt said, attacking the lowest hanging fruit. He mentioned that those are the ones that have made inquiries just close to lockdown and through it. But yes, to answer your question, all those customers, warranties, coming close to finance deals, etc. Again, with the approach, the correct approach, any phone calls or any contact's a good contact. We've got good CRM systems in place. As long as people have got good notes, they've got the background of these people, we can make, I'm not keen on mass emails if we're trying to sell, but if it's a one-on-one phone call, and it's an opportunity to hear that person's tone and ask a few questions and get the vibe of what's going on. It's a lot more personal, and then we can gauge if this is an opportunity to proceed further for a sale. And yeah, I think any opportunity is a good opportunity.
Just to approach that from a different angle, closed lost leads. So leads you've qualified as having been lost previously. I harp on about it all the time. People are probably sick of me saying it, but that's a huge portion of your leads. And for a lot of dealers, there is a massive opportunity in front of them. And just because the COVID has really impacted that, I don't think that opportunity has gone away. There's a big pool of customers that were motivated to contact you where previously they weren't. Just to tie it into the previous question you asked, Richard, that's where the OEM or the brand can really support a dealer with resource. So a lot of the brands that we work with will run some closed loss lead marketing that will focus on trying to re-nurture those customers and get them back and deliver them back to the dealers. And that's where the trust between a dealer and the OEM really comes into play, because they need to know that these OEMs are working on their behalf to generate whatever leads that they can. And the really good dealers embrace that and lean on them where they can.
Now, obviously there's a number of places in the market at the moment that people can display listings. We've obviously with Trade Me seen they've done some pauses on auctions and made a few changes to the way their system works during the lockdown. What should people be looking at with their online listings as we come out of this, as processes change? Should they be updating those listings? What's your thoughts around that? Matt, you're probably the best person to start with there.
Yeah, I think back to basics. So there's a couple of things that really help sell a car, and we used to call it selling the sizzle, and that is obviously the photos, the features, and the comments. Those are the things that really set your white Toyota Corolla apart from another white Toyota Corolla. So taking really good photos where there's not other cars in the shot and it's not all blurry and bad lighting and shadows. You want to give the viewer of the listing a really clear picture of the vehicle, and a good number of photos as well, not just sort of under 10. Those days are well behind us. you should be taking around 15, 20, 25, so that the customer who can't go and necessarily visit the car will get a good idea of everything. And also not being afraid to show damage if it is a used vehicle, so that there are no surprises there.
That's going to become really important as we go into this potentially contactless sales period. And I know, as you guys probably have looking through, and many of the used import dealers are working online with us at the moment, that the export sites are generally very forward in pushing marks and damage on those vehicles, because when you're sending a car 10,000 kilometers, you can't, it's very difficult to, if someone has buyer's remorse once they realize the actual quality of the vehicle. That's going to become really crucial to do over the next little bit, that warts and all process, isn't it?
Definitely will be. And I think, the telling a little bit of a story about the car can also really help it stand out. And that's where some salespeople are fantastic at doing that. So one of the things you can also look on is videos, as you said. Building videos for those listings to go on online sites through your own website gives a bit more of a feel for the vehicle.
Is there any other thing you can do with your listings, and this could apply to any of the listing sites, to get that communication directly through to you? People look at lots of stuff and walk on by. What's the key thing that you think will get those people to pick up the phone, either call you, email you, get in touch?
Other than price, obviously.
It's obviously a prime one.
As I said, just making sure you're doing your best to showcase that vehicle, presenting it as well as possible, and providing them enough information to make a decision, because another website or another listing is within a couple of clicks. So it's very important that you have the details there to hold someone on the site. There are things that AutoPlay don't provide, such as like online chat modules or Facebook Messenger. They can be good opportunities to reach the customer while they're browsing. We always encourage any way that you can generate more leads is a good thing for AutoPlay as a company. So we definitely say those sort of modules are pretty fantastic for capturing them at point of sale, so to speak.
I was just seeing, Richard, some of the questions coming through. I've seen a couple themes around the video tool. How successful is it? I think that's a key question that people have got, is like, all these digital tools, like, do they work? The key things you can see, trying to be agnostic here, but talking about the AutoPlay product, is within that software, you can see how people are engaging with that content. So you send an email out, you send a video out, there's notifications and pop-ups, you can see how the customer has engaged with that video. So I think that kind of answers the question, in the sense that you've got a tool that you can do a whole bunch of stuff with. You can test and measure the progress, and you can sort of shape your own dealer brand strategy as required off that.
Well, before we go through to the questions and answers, and now I guess it's your chance to not necessarily be so agnostic. Hey, what can we see coming from the Mark Group and AutoPlay over the coming months, as obviously your products shift and the market shifts to this new way of doing business?
So for our current customers, that was always our priority, is looking after all of the customers that have been loyal to us over the years. So we've got a release going out this week, which will be deployed free of charge to our existing customers. Gives them a bit of info on the ability to, as I mentioned earlier, vehicle sanitization, some disclaimers to say what's happening with customer data, and a few other little bits and pieces to help them keep track of customers. But down the line from that, the next focus is most likely contactless with our test drives and our appraisal forms. And then from there, we're looking at different things we can do with visitor books, either in the software or as a no login web page. So we're sort of turning over every stone, and every little bit of feedback we get from our customers is extremely valuable. And we're in the process of formulating up a roadmap. We took the very unusual step for us of completely shutting down our planned roadmap and pivoting straight away to responding to what the market is wanting for COVID, which developers hate, but it's what our customers need. So we really have really shifted our thinking in that regard.
Just on that note too, Matt and the developers have been working really hard, going through mental gymnastics to work out what everyone in the market, our customers, need. From a customer experience team's perspective, we'll be keeping in contact continually with our customers. So you'll be hearing from me and you'll be hearing from the others in the team. What we want to know is really we're doing the best we can, moving heaven and earth to make sure that the transition through COVID is as simple and as easy as possible for everyone and meeting government regulations. But our sales teams are in the coalface, actually practically dealing with life on the dealership floor and interacting with customers. So any feedback is greatly appreciated. Our product's always been one where we've developed based on customer feedback. We want it to be really user-friendly. So this gives anyone listening here who are AutoPlay customers to have a think of what is working and what improvements you'd like to see, especially after the release at the end of this week. You'll be able to experience what contact tracing, vehicle sanitization actually feels, looks, and smells like within the app. And it will smell because you'll be using disinfectant in your dealerships. I can see Matt's one. So, you know, when I call you and my team calls you through the following days, love to hear your feedback and know what's going to help you, because, you know, the more education we can get from you, the better service we can provide.
I think the overarching theme is we're moving quick across the Mark group. We've got, I don't know if you can see these t-shirts, they've got hashtag GSD. So I probably won't swear because I don't know if I'm allowed to on here, but it's get something done. That's fundamentally part of the mantra of the business. So Matt's been running the dev team over the weekend. You know, they're literally working around the clock to get the stuff going because end of the day, like we're a function of the partners we've got in this industry, which is a lot of people on this call. So yeah, we're kind of seeing it as a chance for us to step up and do what we need to do to keep businesses operating.
Fantastic. Look, I think we'll shift to the question segment of this now. So just to reiterate everyone that's out there, and this applies to both the people on Zoom and the people on YouTube, feel free to ask a question through the chat function on the window you're looking at, or if you're struggling to get that to work because hey computers, then you can email me at richard@automediagroup.co.nz, and I've got that in front of me as well. Starting off with Mark Morell, and Mark, I'm actually going to allow you to talk briefly if you feel you want to step in and say anything additional to this question. Mark asks, interested to learn about the digital contract tracing and how this will apply for service department customers, along with all people entering the dealership. Who wants to take that one?
I'll take that one. So for us, we're a pre-sale lead management tool. So for us, we looked at what can we quickly get out to market that's going to help our existing customers. So the initial wave of dev is focused around the leads, but we have had a lot of feedback from our dealers that, hey, they already use AutoPlay. They want to jump in that same piece of software and record if someone else who's not a sales lead has come into the dealership. So that's something we're in the planning stages. We do have a loan vehicle form that can be sort of bodged for that purpose. However, yeah, we're looking at the feasibility of building out a visitor book for which we can record that activity and not have it impact the sales leads or the sales reporting. It's not been our initial focus, but it is something we're looking at in the coming waves of dev.
Fantastic. Okay, on to the next question, and this is kind of a two-parter. And again, I'll unmute Rob in case he wants to say anything, but I'm not sure whether everyone's set up for this, but I'll allow you to talk. Rob's asked, what has feedback been from AutoPlay clients on the success of video? It seems like a high effort, low reward activity. Any feedback on this?
I'll take that one again if you guys don't mind. Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and being completely transparent, video for us has been one of those things we've found very easy to sell, but much harder to get dealers to adopt. So there is always a little bit of resistance to video for some of those reasons that Rob mentions. One of the things, and some people on this call may remember these stats, but we had a video on a site for a large OEM a number of years ago, and the listings with video were generating 4.5 times more leads than the listings without. Everything else was pretty much fundamentally the same. We also have dealers, a good dealer in Christchurch who used our video email response tool, and his feedback was that from getting 1 out of 5 replies to his replies from customers, he was moving up to about 2 or 3 out of 5. So that opportunity for him just to continue that dialogue was obviously very useful. I'll go back and say though, it's not a miracle drug. It's all about how you build that video and how effective you are at talking in that video. The good thing about salespeople is there's a lot of really good talkers. So one of the things we often say is you've got a little studio booth in your dealership, sit in the back of a car, close the doors so you're not self-conscious about anyone overhearing your video, and do a recording there. I think people sometimes overthink video. When all they need to do is let their personality shine and build a bit of rapport.
Oh, fantastic. Another question from Rob M, and one that is somewhat AutoPlay specific, but something that really does apply, I think, across any system that people are using. Also, open-ended question, but are emails out of AutoPlay designed to avoid spam boxes? They've been sending emails and getting some success. Any success is great, but wanted to clear this up as they see the odd email going to customer spam.
It's something we're constantly monitoring. I think we follow best practice with email delivery. One of the things we do is we make sure, because it comes from our software, that it's not claiming to come directly from the dealership. It says it's on behalf of. It's one of those things, whenever that happens, we'll go back and look at it. We find we have delivery rates of 99% in excess, so it's usually quite unlikely that it goes to spam. Some things that the sender can actually do to protect themselves is obviously in the subject line, avoid sort of things that will get picked up by certain spam filters, exclamation marks, dollar signs, etc. But yeah, it's something that's constantly monitored.
Fantastic. Hopefully that answers your question, Rob. Now I've got a question from over on the YouTube page from Cam. Do you guys actually, how do you guys actually expect, and I'm going to rephrase Cam's question here. Do you think dealers are actually going to be able to open their doors to any form of face-to-face interaction between customers next week? I mean, what's your guys' take on the government announcement?
Personally, do you want to go, Mike?
No, you go. I'll jump in after.
Personally, I am not 100% sold that is what's going to happen. I think there's a lot of dealers and OEMs approaching it from a test drive point of view, which is why we're trying to quickly pivot to contactless test drives with our development, and we'll move as quickly as we can on that. I think, is it going to be the normal situation where a dealership can open? I don't believe that is the case. I think that will be a couple more weeks. So Mike touched on it. A lot of what we're doing is anticipating level 2. Because level 2 is where we think it may return to some form of normality, but still with a few more considerations and restrictions.
Fantastic. Now, we've got a couple of questions being asked here, because I know it's a very popular question out there, but it's not necessarily outright related to what we're talking about here. And that's, will you be able to get number plates or register a car or complete an MR2A next week? We will, for those watching, go out and find that answer separately. We're trying to do it on the background now and get that out on AutoTalk in the next, well, hopefully this afternoon. But I'll turn this question back around to the panelists, in that if we are in a situation next week where we still can't necessarily process, register, get a number plate for a car, how do you still sell vehicles? I mean, can you sell people a car on the possibility that it will be delivered later? I think we've seen Toyota do that with their system. You pay for your car, it doesn't actually come on a truck for a little while. How difficult is that to do, and how do you treat that? I mean, is that just a super qualified lead, or is that a sale you can put through the books?
Look, I'll jump in with my opinion on that. What we currently have is forward orders, right? If it's a new car, if we're talking about new cars, people have had to sometimes wait months for those. So it's a very similar situation, and I guess currently it's a non-negotiable situation. People don't have choices around this. So if people are keen for a particular, this is where if they really, really want it, they'll wait for it. But you're quite right. If they want to keep their options open, it would be a challenge.
Yeah. Just getting some notes through saying that they're working on someone from a KSDP, so one of the major things is watching, and they've sent its message saying that they're still working with the NZTA on the issue in regards to the issuing of number plates and processing of registrations. They are allowed to work, and it may be possible, but it's likely to be in a fully contactless way. What that means yet, I'm not entirely sure. I would suggest it means maybe that things can be processed, but it may be overnight couriering for number plates and so forth. As Damien from at Bayride Motorcycles has said in the comments in regards to no one being allowed in the doors, their read on it is that yet no customers in the doors, it's only a work colleague bubble, no closer than 1 metre, and only if you can't work from home. So I guess that means for a lot of sales staff that even when things do occur next week, other than someone putting the keys outside to a car for test drive, most of your sales staff are still going to be working from home. I mean, that brings a bit of a new element too to continuing to digitally work with those leads. Someone want to take that?
Yeah, sure. Matt, you're the product specialist, mate. You can jump in at any point, but yeah, like you say, that pre-qualifying of leads. Look, I think people, if they're spending time online or your sales consultants are working from home, great opportunity to just connect with the customer. They should be product experts in terms of the vehicle that the customer's inquiring on. So you've got a whole bunch of tools there, that you can use to really build a relationship with that customer. Harking back to what I said earlier, those top 2, 3, 4 things, like if a lead comes in, get on it quick and just do everything you can. I mean, that's all we can expect at this point in time. But yeah, understanding, just to sort of round that out, I didn't round that out very well before, but yeah, the top 3 or 4 things is your time to respond to a lead. Lead visibility, understanding anything and everything you can about that customer, gender, demographics, all that kind of stuff. It's only going to help you out more down the line. Nurturing them for a long time through your communication. And then if they do not convert on a particular vehicle, don't treat them as lost. Keep marketing to them. People are in market for a long time. They could be in market for longer periods of time in COVID. So, yeah.
Just building on that as well, for a sales manager, having, whether it's AutoPlay or a different LMS or your DMS system, being able to see the leads and the responses and the actions of your salespeople going back to those customers is even more important when you can't walk down the dealership floor and have a chat to them. So having good notes and CRMs or your LMS or your DMS is critical. And as I said, whether that's in AutoPlay, we'd love it to be, or not, it's a standard practice of lead management.
Fantastic. Look, thank you so much for being with us today, guys. That applies to both our viewers and our fantastic panelists here. Any last little close-off thoughts from the panelists, and also what's the best way that people here watching can get hold of you if they've got further requests or questions? I'll just let you know, if you're watching, we will be sending out a video of this seminar to you, and we will be sending out more material about the information from here today, and also contact details for the people involved. But AutoPlay, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Yeah, we'll provide those details as you suggested there, Richard, for your follow-up details. Otherwise, you can just come through directly to us at AutoPlay or at Mark Group there. But we'll see if there's any other supplementary information that backs up a few of the discussions, a few of the themes on the call. Yeah, we've got heaps of stuff. We're keen to provide anything we can that helps people come up with a good idea or helps them get another sale done. So yeah, Matt, Jackie, anything from your perspective?
No, we're happy to be contacted. Look forward to hearing questions, and as Jacinda says, be strong and be kind.
Fantastic. What a great way to end. Now, we hopefully look forward to seeing most of you people watching here on Thursday this week. We have our second session, and that's with really well-known sales trainer Graham Taylor Edwards. So feel free to get in touch with Deborah at automediagroup.co.nz, who has been in touch with you in regards to all the details with this, if you just want to confirm your registration for that. But we'll also send you out details for those. So thanks for joining the first session. It's been fantastic, and hopefully good business as you get back out there under level 3, level 2, and the future. So enjoy your time in your bubble. Stay safe. Thanks so much. All right. Let's just.
Thanks, Richard.
No worries. I will give you guys a call back in a minute. I'll end this just to end the thing, and then I'll give you a call back and we'll have a bit of a debrief.